Hi everyone and welcome back to the Aquapod. We are back after a busy month of April which saw 3 national championships, 1 British championship and countless other events and projects. This week I'm delighted to be joined by Helen Frost, the Head of Marketing and Public Affairs at Scottish Swimming, as well as Gordon Hunter, the Aquatics Partnership Manager. We chat through some of the political engagement around our campaigns, Save Our Pools and Support School Swimming, involving the Parliamentary Round Table at the end of April, which included Duncan Scott OBE, as well as our appearances at a number of party political conferences spreading the word of these campaigns. We chat a little bit about our new facility strategic vision that sees the right pools hopefully being built in the right places to ensure that everyone can swim. We also touch on our latest National Framework Conference, which focused on the power of the network and was hosted at the Falkirk Wheel. Hopefully you enjoy the conversation and let's get on with the show. So really pleased to be joined by 2 of my colleagues at Scottish Swimming, Helen Frost, the Head of Marketing and Public Affairs, and Gordon Hunter, Aquatics Partnerships Manager. Great to have you back on the podcast, Gordon. Obviously been on the Aquapod before, but Helen, you're making your debut on the Aquapod, so great to have you both here. How are things treating you at the moment?
Very good, thanks. It's been a busy time, especially with the parliamentary work we've been doing. So it's been very busy.
Yeah, great to be on. Nice to have a nice bit of sunny weather as well. So nice been having a wee bit of time with the golf course when not been working hard. But it's been really busy at the moment with lots of things going on, as Helen was saying. So it was good to dive into some of that with you, Charlie. And thanks for having me back on.
Nice one. No, it's definitely, weather's been good, Gordon, hasn't it? And nice to kind of have, the spring and summer here and lots of exciting things. And as you mentioned, Helen, it's been a really busy period across the company, to be honest, but certainly for yourself, there's been lots going on in terms of the kind of political engagement of a lot of our campaigns, including kind of Save Our Pools and Support School Swimming, alongside a lot of other bits and bobs as well. I wonder if you want to give a little bit of a background about Save Our Pools, and do you want to just give a little bit of background into some of that for the listeners?
Yeah, sure. So the Save Our Pools petition was set up a couple of years ago. It was published in April 2023, if I think back. It was really set up to recognise the value of swimming pools and provide financial relief to help keep pools open. So the campaign quickly gained a lot of traction, not just with our own members through the aquatics community, but with the general public as a whole, and with the media as well. So there's been a lot of pickup in the last 2 years, and people really getting behind swimming pools. And I think people are very passionate about it because pools often lie at the heart of communities. They're community hubs, often kind of thriving places with fun, fitness and friendship. So I think people have really got behind the campaign. We held a parliamentary reception in March 2023 to really raise the issue and rally support from MSPs across political parties. And this led to a members' debate in September that same year. That was led by Liz Smith, MSP at the time. And the parliamentary reception quickly gained quite a lot of cross-party support from a lot of MSPs. So, for example, Fulton McGregor, Brian Whittle, Liz Smith, Faisal Chowdhury, Neil Bibby. So we've had quite a lot of cross-party support from all parties, which has been really good to see. I think obviously what we really need is the commitment to actually get the investment behind pools going forward. But I think the whole community's done a good job of raising the profile of Save Our Pools and getting behind the campaign. The demand's there. 13% of adults are still swimming regularly. It's the highest participation sport after going to the gym and weight training. It's the highest participation sport for women and those with disabilities as well. So the demand's there. We just need to keep the profile high on the agenda.
Of course, and some great stats there, and they're pretty recent stats as well. I think I'm right in saying, Helen, and ones that have been using in our Never Too Late campaign over the past couple of weeks. But I think what has shone through for me, working in the kind of social media side of these campaigns is the response from people is so strong, and people do really feel strongly about the importance of not only pools but of their life skill of swimming and what it means to them. Whether it's simply having that knowledge that their child could be safe, or as safe as possible round about water, or if it's about enjoying the sport on holiday, or if it's about pushing your own goals or whatever. It has been amazing to see that, and the support is across the country, and it's across so many different groups as well, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's been good to see. The petition itself's been heard about 3 times, I think, in Parliament, and probably most recently, there was a roundtable discussion last week on the 23rd of April that obviously got a lot of profile. We were fortunate to have Duncan Scott OBE at that roundtable discussion, and him championing Learn to Swim as a life skill. Of course, he's a Learn to Swim ambassador, so he's very passionate about this anyway. And I think with our drowning statistics being more than double those of the UK, I think the life skill argument behind learning to swim is a bit of a no-brainer, really. I think we have to champion swimming not just as a sport but as a life skill going forward. So,
well, you mentioned it, Helen, so I'm just going to pop in just now that clip of Duncan Scott speaking some fantastic words about the importance of learning to swim.
I've learned so many lessons from the sport, and it's a real passion of mine. But then also as the Learn to Swim ambassador as well, it's something that has grown on me, and something that is of a real importance as well. We can't have that Learn to Swim framework, if there's a lack of pools throughout the country. So as it's already been mentioned, it's a real issue and a challenge within Scotland. You said yourself in your constituency in Eastwood, there's a good ample amount of pools, but from myself, an athlete throughout my career, I look back to some of the pools that have been a part of my journey. Alloa Leisure Bowl, which is now closed. Bo'ness swimming pool, which is now closed as well. It does make me think with my athlete head on, where are these next athletes going to come from? But then when I start to think about my Learn to Swim and Learn to Swim ambassador head on, I've been in that role since 2016. And the Save Our Pools campaign really started to hit home after I visited Broxburn Pool in 2022, getting to see the first-hand impact it was having on a small local community. The children's faces learning to swim, what it was doing, the parents really enjoying to see their kids, what the teachers were doing. It was just, it was great to be there. Later that same year in 2022, that pool was later closed. So I think, from my perspective, it's pool closures. It's going to be a direct correlation between, pool closures and a real struggle for the Learn to Swim framework. Scottish Swimming in 2023 on the future of swimming facilities in Scotland estimated that 40.5 million is needed to maintain the current level of pool provision each year. That would build or refurbish potentially 4 swimming pools a year, but costs are rising, and those figures are already out of date. So for myself, I think there is some good news around the corner. I've Blair Gowrie, potentially a swimming pool there, Curry High School as well.
So great to hear from Duncan Scott there. But there was quite a few other people on the panel as well, wasn't there, Helen, at the parliamentary round table? A few of them here, Kirsty Doig from the Darcy Sunshine Foundation, Diane Breen from Sport Aberdeen. We've got our president, Derek McGowan, who's there under a few different guises, Abby Thompson from our Young Ambassadors, as well as yourself and the CEO, John Lunn. How good was it having such a sort of diverse spread of voices from across the aquatics community, really, promoting the importance of swimming?
I think it's really important to have a diverse kind of spectrum of people across the sport. Everybody had something different to say, but I think equally everybody had something very important to say. And a lot of that is reflecting the public support that's out there. So we did an opinion poll with the general public last February, and 95% of the general public in Scotland think that pools are important for safety. 91% think pool closures are bad for communities. So I think bringing some of that public support through the voices that we had at the round table was really important. And it is a life skill, but it's also a social activity. People do swimming for the social element and enjoyment as much as they do for health reasons as well. And I think swimming's been proven to help with a range of health conditions, and I think this was aired at the round table as well. So dementia, depression, diabetes, obesity. So there's a lot of health conditions that swimming can really help with. And it's up to us to kind of bring those arguments to the fore, I think, to actually challenge the people that are making decisions around pool closures.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, you obviously mentioned it there, we've just heard from Duncan, but fantastic to have such a great ambassador, not only in the pool, but outside it. And the sort of words that he said there seem to resonate with people online as well. There's some great traction for that clip of Duncan speaking. So great to kind of have such a great ambassador that can spread that word a little bit further as well. Gordon, for you, within that, obviously Diane Breen was there from Sport Aberdeen, who's been a big part of the kind of the national framework. Good to have an ambassador like Diane sort of involved in those discussions from a kind of partner and provider side of things as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Diane, obviously, I think she was on a pod previously. They won our Provider of the Year, Learn to Swim Provider of the Year, and they do so much good work. It's not just the Learn to Swim side of things, that delivery, they do a good programme on Good Boost and things like that. But Diane, having to hear the challenges and that they face as operators, but also more the value and the importance and what they give back to the communities. Sport Aberdeen, as well as all the other partners, do such a good job at providing those services, keeping the pools open, delivering for children, as we said, that vital life skill, but as well as the adults and obviously our clubs and our members getting that access to deliver right across the whole pathway. So it was great to get that support from Diane, as well as the other people on the call on the round table as well. It was really powerful to listen, and it was great to hear that discussion at that level.
And one of the kind of great pieces of the engagement so far at the round table and otherwise has been how cross-party the support has been, for our campaigns and for our messaging as well. Helen, you have been to a number of party political conferences doing a bit of a roadshow, and I know some of your team, Gordon, as well, have kind of helped out at a few of those as well. But Helen, you've been to the SNP, Labour, Conservatives, Lib Dem and the Greens as well, so making sure that we're really reaching as big an audience as possible. What do you feel has been the benefit of doing that, and how engaged have sort of Scotland's leaders been within those conversations as well?
Yeah, I think it's important for us to be apolitical for a start and make sure we go to all the party political conferences so that we're apolitical in that sense. But I think going to the party conferences does two things. I think, first of all, it raises awareness of our campaigns and our case for swimming and among a kind of decision-making audience. So I think it's raising awareness of the campaigns in the parliamentary world, I suppose. And the second thing it does is it gives us a chance to influence MSPs, councillors and those who make decisions around pools or around school swimming. So it's a real chance to kind of influence those in power, I suppose, that make the decisions around these things. I think having fringe events at the party political conferences is a really good idea. I think that raises the issue further. And we've been lucky enough to have Hannah Miley at some of these fringe events, kind of promoting the cause. And it's usually hosted by an MSP at the time who can actually bring the matters to a fore, and we can have a panel on the fringe events that actually can discuss all the issues. So I think Gordon's been on the panel before.
Yeah, that was good. I think I was at the SNP one with Hannah around there, and I've been to the other ones with, I think it was the Labour around that. And I think it's really good discussion. It just takes it a different level of discussion, because quite often when we're meeting our partners, we're already preaching to converted. We've got people that see the value and know what we're trying to do, and we're working all the same way. So I think it's important when you have the conversations with cross-party, the different challenges and different agendas faced, and it's good to hear that. And as Helen says, for me, it's really important to raise awareness, because sometimes when you're having conversation, particularly at the fringe, to members of the public coming through that aren't maybe the normal people that you'd see in a leisure centre, whatnot, or they're remembering how they learned to swim, and you get some great stories, and they just didn't understand, whether school swimming's not in the curriculum anymore, or the different options of how they learnt to swim. So it was just really powerful to understand that actually not everybody knows what we're doing, so it gives another opportunity for us to push that message. And again, what comes through loud and clear is that support and that value and importance of children learning to swim, and the role that swimming pools have within communities across Scotland. And that was coming loud and clear from all parties whenever the fringe events I've been at, or the cross-party support, it comes through loud and clear.
Yeah, I guess it's just about finding as many outlets as possible for us all to, keep promoting these campaigns and the importance of swimming and swimming pools as well, Gordon. Just lastly on this wee bit before we move on, we've had parliamentary discussions, we've had the round table. Helen, just spoke about being to a number of conferences and things. What's next from that kind of political side of things, and what are we hoping to see happen over the next wee while?
Well, I think we put forward a few asks at the roundtable discussion, which I think I'll come on to as well. But the Petitions Committee will consider the evidence it gathered at that roundtable. Our hope is that some of the asks that we came up with through the roundtable come to fruition eventually. So we'd like to see pools protected as community assets, maybe by introducing a statutory consultation process for every threatened pool closure. So a bit like the same way that football pitches and pitches are protected and they have to go through a statutory consultation process, it would be great to see the same thing happening for pools. We want to see the rollout of school swimming to every local authority across Scotland, and we're talking to all the political parties around that, and including the government, to see how we can roll that out so that all children have fair and equal access to learning to swim. And ideally, we would like a joint task force with the government and COSLA to assess what's needed in terms of support and investment to keep pools open. So it's obviously a difficult issue. It's not easy with squeezed budgets to keep pools operating. So that's why we think a joint task force to look at that would be really helpful. And in the meantime, we continue our political party roadshow. We've got the Conservative Party conference coming up in June. That's on the 13th and 14th of June, and hopefully get school swimming and support for pools in some of the party manifestos ahead of the election next year.
Brilliant. So it goes on and on, doesn't it, Helen? It doesn't stop, but that's kind of what it's all about, isn't it? It's making sure it stays on the agenda and we hopefully see as much progress on that as possible. So probably a nice opportunity to move on to another big piece of work that has been going on at the start of this year, and that's our facilities strategic vision. Now, I know, Gordon, you've been kind of heavily involved in this piece of work, and it's an important piece of work. One of the kind of aims of it is to have the right pools in the right places so that everyone can swim. That kind of lays it out in sort of layman's terms, I guess, but maybe going into a bit more detail, Gordon, what really is the facilities strategic vision, and what's its main purpose?
Yeah, I think I suppose its main purpose is, as you said, if there's no pools, we can't deliver our sport. So with that, so it's making sure we're protecting those pools, but it's also making sure that the right pools in the right places. Throughout that strategic vision, we've identified, I suppose, 3 different avenues. We've got our national venues. So we want to maintain 3 national aquatic venues across Edinburgh, Glasgow and Aberdeen. And then we also want to make sure we develop and refurbish a network of strategically located, what we call regional facilities, to make sure that we have opportunity for clubs and our members to train and compete. And then finally, we need a network of local pools. And that's the kind of the bread and butter of all aquatic activity happening, across the whole of Scotland, having that network, so people can learn to swim, they can train and they compete for membership opportunity. But I think what's quite important to recognise is every national venue is also a regional, and it's also a local community throughout that. So it's really trying to get that strategic vision, identify that at a national level. And then it's also looking about what we need is that sustainable investment. We need to make sure that the local authorities and trusts are able to continue to invest in that maintenance and make sure the pools are getting built or refurbished for the future to make sure they're modernised, because we know the impact it can have of an energy and cost. So we've got to utilise that technology to make sure we are running as effective and efficient pools in Scotland.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess the point is that, there's the 1% of national venues, they don't happen without that 3% of regional and the 96% of local either, do they? You really need that strong foundation across the entirety of the country to enable these, big national venues to operate and produce the best athletes to the best possible ability.
Yeah, 100%. You need that network. Everything goes without there. So going back to Helen's point, the Save Our Pools, if one pool closes in an area, it has a knock-on effect to the whole system and pathway, because it squeezes the capacity and availability we've got across there. So every pool is really important. It's just making sure the right pools are in the right places. So there might be some rationalisation, but again, what we're trying to get with that strategic vision is we're looking to the future. So we're building pools for the future. So if there is any closures, they've thought about it through and they know that another pool is getting replaced, or whether it's getting kind of refurbished and whatnot. So it's not about saving every pool, it's making sure we've got a sustainable stock of pools across Scotland, so that we can deliver and continue to deliver at the world stage, and we've got a kind of thriving aquatic community across Scotland.
Yeah, that's quite an interesting point, Gordon, as well, that although the campaign slogan is Save Our Pools, it's not all about saving every pool, it's about ensuring that there's the opportunities for people to go to pools. And, the stock is in this country that a lot of the pools are older, so will need more work and are therefore more of at risk of shutting down and things as well. It is about that more sustainable approach going forward, isn't it?
Yeah, it's looking at all the different options around that. It could be a replacement, a refurbishment, or quite often there's some examples just near where I am in South Queensferry where they had a tandem build. So as one pool had finished aging, they built the new sort of replacement school pool on there. So there was very little kind of transition, if that makes sense. So that pool was replaced by one on site, but it was more modern. It was 25 sort of 6-lane or 4-lane pool, as opposed to the smaller pool previously. So again, it was bringing up to time, so therefore it was more suitable as a community hub. And there's lots of examples that happening across Scotland. So it's just making sure, as you said, we do have an aging stock, and that's what the report did, this one, strategic vision, and the previous one we did of the future pools in Scotland. We do know we have aging stock across Scotland, but that doesn't mean it's all that means they're out of date. Far from it. The idea is, how do we extend the life cycle and look to the future to make sure we are using that technology that's out there. So we're excited to see there's some examples of some passive house pools that hopefully be opening up soon across Scotland. I think Blair Gowrie and Curry High School, as well as ones getting developed in Alloa into replacement pools. So it's good. There is planning happening, and as more of them happen, we'll see how that cascades across the wider network.
And we would encourage everyone to sort of look at that. It's on our website and in our facilities section, and well worth kind of 15-20 minutes of your time to understand the thought process behind why things are the way they are and where we hope they go as well. Just lastly on that, how do we continue to influence that then, Gordon? This is in place, this strategic vision, but where's our role then, over the next 5 years whilst the goals are there? How do we continue to support that?
I think it's important for us to have the conversations. So as we say, we have strong partners with the pool operators, which is great to understand that, but ultimately they might not be the local decision maker. I think what we're understanding is it's important for our members, our clubs, to make us aware, because quite often we don't know what's happening in every local authority. So we get some good intel from the members. So making us aware of how these decision processes work, I think, is really important for us. I suppose looking at it, it's not just by local authority. Quite often pools, they cross borders, they cross boundaries in terms of clubs or members. So we're trying to look at it from a national perspective. So we have got some good mapping and resources and research that we've done to help. So our ask is, I suppose, for us, it's to try and understand what is the future, where are the pools going to go, what's happening from there. So it's keeping that conversation, as going part of what Helen was discussing earlier, was keeping it on the agenda, keeping understanding what's going on. And I think for us, it's making sure that if it is any decisions being made, it's been thought through and they're looking to the future, and it's not just quick, a kind of short win. But a short-term loss for long-term win, if that makes sense. Making sure we're not just closing pools. There's been so much investment in Scotland over a number of years, public money investment into fantastic facilities. And yes, some of them are aging, but we are investing in, and it's just making sure we're using them. And as we're going through it, there's so many children are learning to swim each week. As Helen said, the values and all that discussion at the round table, it shows, people want to use them. So it's just making sure we keep going.
Yeah, one of those places that we've been keeping these issues on the agenda is our National Framework Conference, biannual or biennial. We're never quite sure what one it is. Shout out to Alan Reid, he's always shouting for biennial, I think, isn't he? But it was a fantastic day the other week in Falkirk. fantastic venue at the Falkirk Wheel, and a great gathering of aquatic providers as we move towards 10 years of the national Learn to Swim framework. Gordon, how proud were you of that day, and seeing such a great kind of network of people?
Yeah, I think it's amazing to see when it all comes together. Everything you think, is there still demand for this? And there absolutely is. And I think over the years it's been evolved. It's probably been a accidental coincidence, an outcome of the framework. In terms of 10 years ago when it was set up to develop, it was that standardisation of swimming and trying to develop that. But over the 10 years, I think we keep saying that the theme was the power of the network, but it's come through. And I think now what we call is almost the culture that's created there. It's fantastic to see the sharing. They all feel as if they're part of a big family that are really kind of pushing forward what they're trying to do and improve the Learn to Swim provision across Scotland. So it's less about them and their individual programmes. It's more collectively as a network, how can we move things forward? And there's a real openness to share and support each other, which sounds obvious and whatnot, but I think, it's hard to get that. And it's really proud when you stand back, when you watch and you hear the tables conversations happening, going on, and then all the information we gather back. It really helps us to drive forward and make sure we're doing the right things or where the support's needed. And a lot of the initiatives that have come out from these network days have then allowed us to develop that. So whether that be the swim picks that we've done previously, some of the autism CPDs come through loud and clear as we develop accreditation, as we develop other things. I think it's fantastic. And the venue at Falkirk Wheel was really iconic, and it was really great to see. I think we had over 70 delegates represented 29 out of 32 local authorities across for the day. So it was really good, and it was a good opportunity for the wider Scottish swimming team to meet the partners and see that kind of work. I was really proud to see that happening, and it's great to see kind of what we've created and try and continue that to allow the partners to deliver what they do every day.
Yeah, and that theme, the power of the network, really came across in some of the presentations. So great to hear now from John Lunn, CEO at Scottish Swimming, Sophie McCall, Director of Aquatic Development, and Barry Cook, the Partnership Manager at Sport Scotland for Scottish Swimming as well.
There isn't a network like this in any other governing body. It does not exist. There isn't the power and the coverage that this network provides in any other governing body. There's lots of networks. There's lots of groups that meet. There's lots of occasions where people come together. But this one stands out. It's much bigger reach. It engages a lot more people and a lot more partners. And I guess that's the theme of the day today, is about the power of the network. There is a big network here that has a lot of connection.
I would encourage all of you to think about what we have heard today. Think about where some of your thinking has maybe been challenged, or where you've heard a new idea. The insights, the energy, the shared vision that we have had. And think about how you can carry that forwards. So let's continue to lean on each other, challenge each other, and grow this network to be even stronger. Because together, we're not just teaching swimming, but we are unlocking potential and helping shape the next generation of confident swimmers at every stage of the aquatics pathway.
And what I've seen over the last few years is that it's ever evolving and it's ever improving. We're all really learning from each other, and I think we take it for granted. I think I've spoken to one or two people about this today. I think we can often take it for granted. Events like this, John touched on it at the start today, this is really unique to swimming. This community coming together on a regular basis, sharing good practice, sharing their expertise.
Yep, fantastic to hear from the three of them as well. Helen, from a kind of marketing point of view, how powerful is it having, such a strong network of providers across Scotland, when it comes to kind of promoting the good work that is done?
I think it's a really unique and strong network, as Gordon says. I think it's rare to get something as powerful as that, and so many providers coming together to, talk about the benefits of swimming and promote swimming as a whole, as Learn to Swim providers. I think one of the things that, from a marketing point of view, that makes it so powerful is the data that we collate from all the providers. Yeah. So that's been really powerful in making the case for swimming at a government level and across political parties. So I think I know that for the adult swimming programme, for instance, there was a 152% increase in adult swimming programme last year. I mean, we do the Never Too Late campaign each year just to promote adults learning to swim and coming together into aquatic sports. But it's just great to see figures like that. And there's still 1 in 3 adults in the country, in the UK, that can't swim. So I think it's really important that we grow our adult programmes. So that's just one example. But I think having the data, having people share best practice is obviously a great learning thing. So I think it's just a really powerful network.
Yeah, absolutely, and that definitely shone throughout the day, through various presenters, through various conversations, and generally speaking, just a really positive day, and great to see everyone coming together as well. Helen, you mentioned there about the Never Too Late campaign. Just lastly, I think it's a good opportunity to speak about some of the campaigns and things we've got going on at the moment. There is Never Too Late, which is about adult learn to swim, but also, trying different things, some of the different aquatic sports. We have Drowning Prevention Week coming up over the next month or so as well, which is a campaign by the RLSS and the RLNI. And we also have Learn to Swim Month, which is in September, but, certainly on the horizon, and our kind of annual month-long celebration of all things Learn to Swim. I wonder if you want to just talk a little bit about some of those campaigns and how important they are to the work that we do as well.
I think the campaigns are really important, but probably the best example I can give is I interviewed a gentleman last week, John Nicholson, who's learning to swim at the University of Stirling. He's 74. He learned to swim. He went back into swimming. He almost drowned when he was younger in a pond, so he was telling us a story about that. He's obviously learned to swim. He's getting a lot of enjoyment out of his swimming, both from a health point of view and from an enjoyment point of view. So he to me links up all our campaigns: Never Too Late, Drowning Prevention, Learn to Swim. And I think that's what I would say about our campaigns. They don't just stand alone, they're all linked together. Yeah. And actually, I think they all come down to one thing, which is learning to swim and swimming in general, which comes down to the Save Our Pools argument again, that without pools, we wouldn't have everyone can swim as our vision. So, yeah,
it's a nice kind of way to wrap it up, Helen. That I don't think you can get any better than that. But Gordon, just lastly, it's nice to see these campaigns and see how they kind of come to life, and we want people to be as involved in them as possible. So what would your kind of message be to some of our partners and providers within that piece as well?
Yeah, for a lot of the partners and providers, they're doing this anyway, if that makes sense. They're delivering that week in, week out. All we're trying to do is promote that to make sure as many people can see that and raise that awareness. It was great to hear that story there, Helen, of John, because that's exactly what's happening. I think that came through. So the partners, don't be scared to ask us or tell us about these stories, because that helps us get involved. Get involved, share the stories, share the resources, and do that, because it's without you guys doing your program and doing that delivery, we wouldn't be able to get this kind of collective voice and collective support for the kind of wider aquatics. So I think it's a well done. Keep doing what you're doing, and let's keep striving for more and just improve that quality of provision. But reach out to us is probably the main thing. Engage with these campaigns.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much, Helen and Gordon, for your time. Really appreciate you coming on for a chat today, and look forward to getting you both on at some point in the future as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Charlie. Thanks, Charlie.
Thanks for listening, and thanks again to Helen and Gordon for hopping on today's show. If you enjoyed the episode, please leave us a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or leave us a like and a comment on YouTube. Until next time, thank you very much.